Hello, hello, welcome back. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, not in that order. We are going to be reading chapter 18 in A Guide for Lightworkers by Archangel Michael and Saratoga Ocean, who is the author and channeler. I do want to preface this by saying that a lightworker is a very, very broad I guess you could say, title to put on a person. So while this book says it is a guide for lightworkers, in the book, as it explains it, a light worker is anybody who is interested or has a calling to bring more light and more love into this world. Anybody that is particularly concerned for the well-being of our planet, of our souls, of ourselves, and of others. So please don't let that deter you away from reading a book such as this one or listening to these videos, because I believe and I think that everybody can benefit from the information that that is being shared with us. And who could not benefit from learning to listen to their heart rather than their mind, letting their mind work in service to the heart as was originally intended. So please keep that in mind as we read this. And if you see the titles of these videos and you think, no, that's not for me, I'm not a light worker. I think that first of all, many people are light workers that don't even realize it. People that you may know that you would never think, have that about them. That's what they're certainly here for, and they may not even realize it. So I think that this book can help many more people than just light workers. So with that being said, let's just take a moment to set our intention and to place our energy here in the heart so that we do take this information in with our hearts and not with our minds, okay? So chapter 18, the heart, speaking of which. The heart is quite possibly the most mysterious part of the human experience on planet Earth. We are not talking about the physical heart. We are specifically talking about the infinite heart, or that which connects you directly to the divine. One of the first things that you should take note of is the fact that the heart is so mysterious. In fact, many people do not even recognize that there is such a thing. They know that they have emotions, but if you discuss the subject of the divine heart, they often do not know what you are talking about. If you discuss the mind, on the other hand, everybody immediately recognizes its existence. No questions asked. It is interesting that the mind is so prominent in your experience that it can literally eclipse your experience of the heart altogether. Yet the mind functioning all by itself with its unlimited array of ideas and perceptions is like a very complex and large ship at sea without a captain. And this sea is stormy to boot. Do you ever feel like that in your life? Do you ever feel as though circumstances are swirling all around you and you can't make heads or tails of what you should do? So let us discuss the proper order of things in terms of how you are constructed as a being. The heart is the actual core of who you are as an infinite being. It exists as your direct link to the real world of the divine, infinite love and truth. The heart is actually has an intelligence all its own. Its intelligence is absolutely superior to that of the earthly brain because it is based solely in the real world of infinite love and expression. In other words, the heart knows the real truth about who you are as a being. Many people misinterpret the nature of the heart and think that it is primarily about emotions and feelings. It is actually about intelligence. We like to call it the seat of the intelligence factor. Now, why is this so? Try to imagine, if you will, the fact that in the infinite world of omnipresent love, there is only love. Everything that exists as an expression of that love. Now, some people think that sounds exceedingly boring. This is what I meant earlier when I said that many people believe that really feeling life, really feeling the substance, requires the conflict that is inherent in the finite. All love, all the time sounds boring. And do you know why that is? It's because the main purpose of your life is to solve problems. What is the definition of a problem? Quite simply, a problem exists as an obstacle that is in the way of where you want to go. It is no more complicated than that. A problem will always produce conflict in your experience. That is the so-called source of substance in your life. What do you think sports are all about? You create a problem, the other team, and then you try to beat them. This only works because they are trying to beat you at the same time. Have you ever noticed that all works of fiction, in order to be successful, must contain a central problem that is there to be solved? It's not that different from watching sports. It seems to be essential that there is a problem awaiting its solution in order for you to remain interested. How about self-help books? All are about different ways and methods to help you solve personal problems in your life. Nearly every single job involves solving or avoiding problems. If your job is a cashier in a fast food restaurant, you must solve the problem of every single customer who is hungry and wants their food now. If you don't solve that problem in an expedited way, you'll have a new problem. Your boss will fire you. If you are a hostess in a restaurant, you must solve the problem of where to place each customer to keep the restaurant running smoothly. As for more complex jobs like building a spacecraft, the entire endeavor is still all about solving problems. How do we safely get into space in order to do the things we want to do there? Look at the political arena. Every single thing that exists there involves solving some kind of problem. Suppose a person wants to run for political office. How do I get people to know me and then vote for me? If you are a political dictator, your problem is slightly different. How do I hold on to my current level of power and control? People with health issues may ask, how do I heal this? For some, it might be as grave as asking, how do I stay alive? Problems exist in the largest spaces in your lives and in the smallest spaces. They are literally everywhere. Maybe you simply have a potted plant that is looking a little wilted. That is a problem that you must solve. What's wrong with my plant? Is it sick? Does it need more water, less water? Perhaps your problem is a crying baby. What's wrong with the baby? How can I get it to stop crying? Perhaps you are beginning to understand why your mind is so active. It is busy 24 hours a day solving one problem after another. Even sleep is an issue. How do I get everything done and still get enough sleep? If I don't get enough sleep, I'll be too tired tomorrow. A dog starts barking in the middle of the night. Now that's a problem. If you could simply step back from planet Earth for a moment and observe this in an entirely neutral fashion, you would see that this is a monumentally strange existence. The reason that you don't think it is strange is because this is all you know. Even your friends in the afterlife have a problem. Their first, most primary problem is how to communicate with you now that you can't see or hear them. Some of them even have problems like unfinished business. You know, I really did want to live in that house just a little bit longer. What do you think spirit-occupied houses are all about? Have you also noticed that animals and plants all have problems that they must learn to solve every single day? Wild animals must figure out how to eat and not be eaten first. They must figure out how to not freeze to death or die of thirst. Plants must figure out how to grow and survive under ever-changing conditions. The entire finite world is about solving and overcoming problems because of the inherent duality. A constant state of duality in existence produces a constant state of problems to be solved. In fact, your very existence is a problem in and of itself because you are an infinite being residing in a finite body. The religions of the world have had a heyday with this situation. Their claim across the board is that God fully intended for this to happen. Now, why would that be the case? New Age religious thought will tell you that God just wanted to have this experience. They claim that God wanted to know what it would feel like to experience pain, suffering, and death. Conceptually speaking, that can sound rather presentable, can't it? Sure it can. If you are comfortably sitting around having tea with your fellow philosophers, it's no big deal. But what if you are the person in the middle of a war who is being beheaded while you are fully alive? They don't use anesthesia in those situations, you know. Or how about the little child lying awake at night who is terrified of being sexually abused by a parent? How about children who witness their father violently assaulting their mother and then being assaulted themselves? How about the excruciating pain and fear that results physically, mentally, and emotionally? Do you think it is too harsh to mention such things? Why? So that you can continue to protect your denial about this situation and go on your merry philosophical way? Dearest friends, if you cannot see that there is something gravely wrong with this entire picture, God help you in your future. At some point in time, you are going to have to wake up and take a position of empowerment, something you have never done before. You have excused, explained away, rationalized, justified, you name it. Why? Because you ultimately feel powerless and thus wholly intimidated. You have been told for century upon century, millennium upon millennium, that this is all an illusion. Your saints have told you this, your scriptures have told you this, and your sages and seers have said the same. Yet you have had not the means to have this fact fully register in your consciousness. You continue to brush it off at your own peril. Now is a time of great light entering your planetary realm of consciousness. You know this. It is time to take advantage of your situation and wake up to the fact that all of your explanations may have been wrong. And have they been? Reason it out for yourselves. Where do you see a solution? Where do you see change? For how long do you think this so-called God, the erroneous one that in no way matches your constant claim that this very same God is one of love, needs to continue to have this experience of death, pain, fear, torture, and violent destruction of every conceivable kind? Why can you not see the inherent lie in what you claim? Now, for those of you who tend to be religious in the more traditional sense of the word, what is your explanation? Is God testing you to see if you can succeed in entirely miserable conditions? Does the reward or punishment for your success or failure lie in the realm after death when you can no longer do anything about it? Does your version of God enjoy putting obstacles of every kind in your way to see how well you will do? Why? For what purpose? You do know something about love after all. If you love your child, is it your natural way to express that love by making it as hard on that child as you possibly can? Imagine if you were the very same God that you always talk about in the life of that child. Well then, you would have no problem whatsoever with perhaps giving that child a terrible disease, or letting that child starve to death in some horrible war-torn situation. Or how about ensuring that the child grows up in poverty and terrible emotional distress? After all, if you were that God, it would all be for the good of that child, according to you. Really? How so, pray tell? Is there any point in time, my dearest, most beloved friends, where this sort of nonsensical thinking has to stop? When? When does that moment arrive? How about right now? This is where the subject of prayer comes in yet again. Are you sensing a theme here? If your sense of reality is completely confused, and it is, then your prayers will be equally confused in terms of their context. You are, without realizing it, sending very confused signals to the universe when your heartfelt prayers arise from a belief in your own illusion. If you believe that the one true God, that of infinite love, has ordained pain and suffering in this universe, then your prayers are all premised on a lie. Do you wonder why you were so confused about the unpredictable responses to your prayers? Many times you are not even praying to the one true God. You are praying to that which ordains the physics that allow pain and suffering, agreeing with it, and then proceeding to beg for relief. I sense that many of you have had enough, are in despair, and don't know where to turn. How can you say that on the one hand, How can you say on the one hand that it is by the so-called hand of a spiritual universe of love that every soul comes into this situation to live through, in some cases, unimaginable hell, because God is all-loving, infinite grace, and would surely not want to deny anyone this golden opportunity? What does this sound like to you? Who does this sound like to you? Does the metaphor of the serpent in the garden ring a bell? Think about it. I know that many of you see yourselves as light workers, and that may indeed be true. But here is what you must consider. If you are praying for the world out of a fundamental lie or an illusion that you insist on believing is real, how is this supposed to help? How is this profound level of compromise supposed to achieve the results you are looking for? I know that many of you pray for others in all sincerity whenever there is mass casualty in the form of war, natural disasters, and the like. I know that you pray wholeheartedly for the beautiful and sincere kingdom of animals and creatures of the sea. Please understand that I am in no way attempting to invalidate those prayers. Every bit of love helps, no matter how small, but I sense that many of you are ready for the big guns, if I may use such a crass analogy. Many of you are ready for something more. Why? Because you see that it isn't working. How many sea creatures, birds, and the like that were covered in oil during your most recent oil spill had their suffering eased by your prayers? How many did not? You know, if you care to look, that millions of them died horrible deaths. Would I be bringing all of this up if there were no answer? And more importantly, would I be bringing this up if it were true that God wanted it this way? Absolutely not. I would instead be following your false belief system and telling you how lucky those creatures were to have incarnated into such a terrible fate. Think of what they had a chance to learn. You might notice that this learning theory doesn't hold up so well when you apply it to animals. What is the point of this entire discourse? It is to let you know, because you asked from within your heart of hearts, that your approach has been erroneous. Sincere, but erroneous. You are clearly ready to give something up because you have already tried everything else. My dearest, most beloved friends, you have reached a point in your evolution where merely helping yourself and those you care about is simply not enough. Why? Because it does nothing to alleviate the conditions that continue to create all of this in the first place. I implore you to act as the gods that you truly are, to come back into living as creators who have a sense of integrity about life and truth. Stop this deadly habit you have acquired of rationalizing and excusing that imposes enormous weakness upon your true capabilities. This chapter is indeed about the heart. It implores you to return to your sanity and align with that which is truly who you are, to be 100% present, conscious, and real, to be that which sanctions only love, to remember your home, which contains no illusions, no lies, no suffering, and no death. Death is not the way that you get there, far from it. When we say that the heart is the seat of real intelligence, we say that because the heart never lies. The heart will never tell you that death is a good idea. It will never tell you that you need to suffer. It will never say that conflict and violence are good problems to have so that you can learn how to solve them. The heart will tell you the one pointed truth. All is really love. And this situation that you find yourself in makes no sense, and it serves no useful purpose. Period. No compromise is necessary. Can you handle that, or are you too afraid? If so, do not worry, because we are going to discuss the source of all fear in the next chapter. All right, so that completes chapter 18, the heart. So there might have been some things in there that may have struck you wrong or struck a chord with you. Archangel Michael is very to the point. He is a loving angel, but he will tell you exactly the way that things are in a very straightforward manner. So that's just sort of what I've gotten from him in the wonderful, beautiful times that I have had interactions with him. And anytime I've ever read anything that's been channeled by him, he comes through always the same. He wants to get his point across, and he wants to make it clear. And I hope that that you are taking in and that you are evaluating really with your heart. I know that I really am. And I actually do notice that when I take the time to set my intention, to take and to do everything with the love from my heart, and with the thought of all of my I don't know how to put it. All of my thoughts, all of my energy goes to my heart rather than to my brain. I not only find that whatever I'm doing is done better, but it is done without any resentment, it doesn't matter, from the littlest task I'm doing to the biggest. When I am conscious of it and aware of it, and I am more and more so as I read this book, it really does change your perception and what every little thing you do, it really changes just everything. It's kind of hard to explain, but let me know if you have been making an effort to do things and to make decisions using your heart rather than your brain, and how it's helped you, if it has helped you, if you've tried it. So until next time, when we read the next chapter, which I'm really looking forward to, The Source of Fear, I hope that you have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day or evening or morning. And please like, subscribe, and comment if you feel so inclined. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of the others around you. Much love and light to you all. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.